Now, immunity is again a fairly common ability. It's on 8 different creatures. Um, so what you'll see with immunity is that it's mostly, again, it's a bit like high endurance. It's an ability that is useful no matter what you do. So immunity is an excellent ability. If you can put it on a creature, and it's of course um, inherent ability, so you don't really have a choice of using the creature. But immunity is great if you can put it on a creature, do so. Unless of course you're aiming for zero electricity. Um, that it comes with a lot of excellent creatures. I mean, the Great White Shark has excellent melee damage. Crocodile is an excellent base creature. The Hornet, of course, has one of the most powerful attacks in the melee attacks in the game, as well as poison. Hammerhead, a bit like the Great White, except without frenzy. It's got keen sense as well. Dragonfly, again, one of the actually it is, I think it is the best attack in the game on the swoop. Has immunity. Praying Menace has frenzy and leap attack as well as immunity. Ant is an excellent base creature and also has immunity. And of course, then there's a shield bug, which is just ridiculously good. So it's, as you can see by the defenses here, it's with the exception of like well, 2 creatures pretty much. It's always found on high defense creatures or high-ish defense creatures. So it's definitely a defensive ability, but it's just it makes so many um, a difference in so many things. I mean, like the creature, as you can see here, the creature is immune to stink, poison, and plague. It's also immune to so that means it's also immune to defile land. It doesn't say this in immunity because defile land was in insect invasion, but that's basically what its main use for is when you're like actually aiming to put immunity on a creature, you'll usually use it with defile army. So yeah, as you can see again, it's a huge range of um, levels. So infestation or infest, usually just call it infest, is only on the termite. The termite, of course, has got good melee, but its main attraction is, of course, infestation. Infestation does 2,000 damage over time to every single structure in the game. Now, it is, of course, a bit overpowered, as you can probably imagine. It pretty much it requires a henchman to repair. One henchman can out repair the infestation on a lightning rod and a sound beam, but that's about it. Other than that, it takes about 5 henchmen to out repair infestation on your lab because the infestation does about, I think, 2.5 times the damage on your lab. And on a creature chamber, which has 2,000 health, of course, you need to have a henchman repairing, otherwise, you will lose that creature chamber. It used to be ridiculously overpowered in 2.82 because you'd be able to infest, and if you didn't have 3 henchmen repairing on that creature chamber, you would be losing that creature chamber because it did a lot more damage. Infestation usually used with a termite and actually, well, pretty much invariably with a termite and chameleon or rattlesnake for, of course, camouflage. It uses 50% endurance, but the endurance is sort of a trivial matter because you start with 66% when the creature is created. Okay, moving on to Keen Sense is again a fairly common ability. It's on 7 different creatures. What it does, it reveals, it's really simple, it reveals camo and digging units. While also, an added perk about the ability is that it means that while your creature is digging, instead of having its sight radius zeroed, you can actually have the creature digging with Keen Sense. It can still see at its normal sight radius. So you'll see that it's mostly found on more early on. It's an early game ability, not so much late game because you have usually sonar pulse in the late game. But if you are going to use it in the late game, you usually will be using it on a boa constrictor. Um, Other than that, though, as you can see, it's found on a lot of early game units. It's a very common ability in the early game. It used to be. Anyway, it's mainly used to counter keen sense and digging ability units, especially fox roaches. So yeah, you got those sorts of things. Really, the blue tongue is sort of a gimmick unit in terms of keen sense. The main reason people don't use it is because keen sense makes it ridiculously expensive. The Eagle, no one really uses, so no one cares about it. Hammerhead Shark is great unit, especially with Keen Sense. It's almost like an rattlesnake unit. Anyway, we move on to Leap Attack. Leap Attack is, of course, a level 2 minimum ability, and it is found on 12 different units, one of which you'll probably never use it on. But so we'll see. We've got the Snow Leopard Cheetah, mostly feline units, I suppose. Um, so it's basically what it is a wimpy version of Charge Attack, I suppose. It's a much faster ability. It's a close range ability compared to Charge Attack, which has a minimum range. This one has like a minimum range of about 2 meters. So what it does is it leaps the creature into combat pretty much instantly. I think it's like 4 times the speed, and it does 1.5 damage. Doesn't stun like Charge Attack does, but it's great for fast units because they can just run off and then leap back in, run off, leap back in if you're really, really persistent with your micro. Um, so yeah, it's always found on fast units with the exception, sorry, of the praying mantis really, which isn't really all that slow. But anyway, so you can see you've got quite simply just it's another one of those abilities that you can just tick on a unit and there's no real point. I mean, it's just an ability that helps increase the amount of damage you do. So, for example, a mountain lion and cheetah are excellent candidates to use it because they're just, cheap, hardy units, especially with the cheetah. It's a fast unit um, that can, run in, do a bit of damage, run out. It doesn't work with flyers or range units, but of course you use it on melee. It's a bit like yeah, as I said, it's like a poor man's charge attack. It just rushes in. It's great for counting massed short range units. For example, the porcupine and the skink, if anyone ever uses the skink. Other than that, though, it's pretty much just, yeah, as I say, just another ability. Um, you don't usually make leap attack units. You usually just stick it on, is what I'm sort of saying. Loner, 5 different units. What Loner does is basically makes your creature ridiculously expensive and makes the creature take ages to build, but it makes the creature insanely powerful when it's fighting by itself. So, for example, if you have a Pteranodon Anaconda, it gets about I think it's a 75% damage mitigation. So your creature will take 25% of normal damage. It has what else? Um, it gets a 1.5 times speed increase, I think, a double melee or maybe even quadruple melee. I can't remember. Just it's basically a huge stat increase at the cost of build time. And, well, yeah, at a huge cost because as you can see with all of these creatures, electricity well into the 300s. For the Black Widow with the webbing, it has 421. But I mean, you can see here it's mostly what you'll be seeing is there's about 3 or 4 different abused loners. There's the panther lobster, which is basically lobster torso and head, and everything else is the panther. Very fast. What you want to be looking for a level 4 loner. Level 4 loners are usually used as raiders, while level 5 loners are usually used as lab rushes or I suppose, everything units. But as level 4 loner, for a level 4 loner, I should say, you'll be wanting more than I think it's 17 melee. At 17 melee, a level 4 loner will instantly kill a henchman, which is what level 4 loners are usually for. They're usually for raiding. So if you are going to aim for, well, if you're going to make level 4 loners, you'll be wanting you'll be wanting to use uh, the Panther, obviously. Panther's the main thing, and that, as I said, instantly kills henchmen. Um, For level 5, for level 4 also there's the Anaconda Archerfish, which is excellent for taking out structures, especially sandbeams. I think it kills sandbeams instantly, especially when it's upgraded. Anyway, as for level 5, Anaconda Frownodon, actually Anaconda anything with horns really, is makes for an excellent ability, excellent loner. Um, the Black Widow you won't see very much, but if you do see it, it'll usually be with a tiger, because the tiger, of course, is fairly fast and hardy, and the Black Widow is great as for webbing, I suppose. So you can just run up, web, scratch everything to death. Alligator Gar isn't really much of a loner. It was just given loner just for the sake of getting, I suppose, having loner. But it has got, of course, the frenzy and high endurance combo. It is very, very powerful.